When people hear the word blacksmith, they often think of horseshoes. And while our guest today crafts with metal and his creations serve a purpose, they are also works of art. Join us today as we visit with Stephen Stokes of Stokes of England to learn about the amazing pieces he creates for royal families, Hollywood celebrities, and even your own neighbor. Come on. Steve, thanks for letting me come by today. What is it you're doing?
Today we're going to make a leaf-handled poker with a twist, and we're going to.
Twist.
And since you're here,
okay,
and you're in clothes worthy of a blacksmith shop, we are going to have you make a leaf to go on this.
Okay, cool. All right. How do I do it?
This is what we do first. We're going to take this rod. We're going to heat it in the coal.
Okay.
And with the coal fire, we can get up to about 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So it gets a little hot right here.
If you tell people you're a blacksmith, what do they think that means?
They think all I do is shoe horses, and that's the one thing I don't do.
So what is the difference? So someone who shoes horses is a farrier, right?
That's correct. Blacksmiths traditionally would shoe horses and make tools and make anything in iron. A farrier simply shoes horses and doesn't make tools or anything in iron.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
We make all our own tools, all the different tongs and tools for the anvil, and all the different tops and bottom tools and the tongs we make ourselves.
And what is this big tool here?
That is one of our more modern tools.
That's modern.
That's a 100-year-old power hammer.
That's modern. I love that. How'd you get into blacksmithing in the first place?
I grew up with it. My father was a blacksmith for 65 years. And I thought, at the time, I thought everybody's father was a blacksmith.
Oh.
So I didn't think it was particularly unique, but of course it is. Now we have a little lump, and we're going to get that red hot.
Okay.
Then you're going to come around here, and you're going to
smack it.
Smack it.
So is this next generation interested in being a blacksmith?
There's a lot of interest out there. What we're finding, though, is that a lot of the youngsters have a fantasy about making swords and knives, but when they realize how much work is involved, a lot of them are put off by it.
How many blacksmiths are there these days?
We've got about 500 in America.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to hit right on the end there.
Right on this end, right there.
Right in the middle.
Oh, this middle.
Right there.
Okay.
Hard as you can.
Oh, can I use two hands?
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay.
Keep going, keep going.
It has to be flat, huh?
Yep, keep going. The start of a leaf there, see?
Right?
Okay, you're almost there. We got the basic leaf shape, so now we're going to give it a little curve at the end. So we'll heat it, and you're going to just gently bend it over the edge of the anvil.
So what are all the different metals you work with?
We work primarily with iron, copper, and bronze. I don't like aluminium, or aluminum as Americans say.
Yeah, that's what we say.
And I don't like stainless steel. We do work with it, but we don't like to.
So you make a lot of different types of pieces.
Yes.
Do you ever do horseshoes?
Yes, we do.
I had to ask.
Yeah. We make hand-forged shoes, and we do corrective shoes for the vets and for the farriers.
Wow, everything.
But we also make farriers' tools, and we make tools for woodworkers and all the other trades. So typically a blacksmith would make all the tools for all the other trades. So without the blacksmith, they really couldn't function.
So you run your business with your wife, Allison, right?
That's correct.
And she's here. Let's get away from the heat for a little bit so I can pick your brain about all the different things you do and how you do
Okay.
it. So Allison, you and Steve have been in this business together for about 33 years. Why don't you tell us how this all got started?
Well, Steve came up with an idea of trying to make a business out of blacksmithing. He'd grown up with it his whole life, and he asked his dad if his dad would be interested in coming over and refreshing Steve's training, lifelong training, just having grown up with blacksmithing. And his dad and mom were willing, and they came over, and you started in a small two-bay garage on the west side of Albemarle County on 250 West.
Well, I love that because it leads to a story you told me earlier about you decided you'd make swords and knives. And then tell about the story about when you went to your first show and what happened to the one you sold.
Yes, we thought we were going to become millionaires overnight making knives and swords.
Sure.
And naturally, everybody does. Anyway, we made a 12-inch Bowie knife with an ivory handle. Ooh. And took it to a knife show. And we immediately sold it. A chap came up to the counter and he paid us $250 for the knife. Wow. And he immediately turned and sold it for $500 to the bloke standing behind him.
Oh, so, lesson number one.
So that's when we realized that maybe knife making wasn't the way to go. So we got into general blacksmithing, doing just about everything.
So that's, this is, a lot of time has gone between that first sale and all these projects. I would love for you to point out some of these big projects that you've done. Atlantis. Talk about some of these.
Well, our first, what we would call a large project, was when the Kluges came to town and built their big mansion. And their designer, David Easton, walked into my shop one day and asked if I would make some samples, which I did. And 3 months later, he came back and said, you're doing the ironwork. So we did spiral staircases, balconies, railing, lighting for the whole project. And we did gates for the Sultan of Oman for his palace.
Okay.
And we did a staircase railing for the Emir of Qatar. Then it was about 1995, we were doing an architectural ironwork show in New Orleans, and an architect came up. He gave us a card and said, I'll talk to you next week. And next week, a big roll of plans arrived for the Atlantis Hotel and Casino.
In the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas. And we were a 5-man shop, and we weren't qualified to do such a big project. So we politely wrote back to the owner and said that this isn't the kind of work we do. We do hand-forged ironwork and bronze work, and we thought that would get us out of the job.
You're so funny.
But the owner wrote back and said, here's a couple of tickets to the Bahamas, bring some samples, show us what you'd like to do, and we'll take a look. So we ended up with our biggest project to date, just because of that.
So this became a major production facility here, and we even hired people to be outside building huge wooden crates to ship all the pieces made here, all made here, every bit, and then shipped over to the Bahamas and then uncrated, and then Steve would go over every so often and install and put it all together there. And
it's a little different from making a horseshoe.
Yes.
And then, okay, so how much time did a project like that take?
That was 3 years with 12 blacksmiths working 16-hour days. So.
Then you've also done work. You worked on the Beverly Hills mansion, the Beverly Hillbillies mansion.
Yes, it was one of the treats of blacksmithing. I grew up in England loving the Beverly Hillbillies TV show. And we got a call one day from an architect. He was working for this chap who had just bought the Beverly Hillbillies mansion. And he wanted to know if we could make some gates and finials and so on for it. So we actually got to make ironwork for the place where my favorite TV show was made.
And the last bit, talk about, there was a project that you did that meant a great deal to you, and you went back home, and what did you do?
It was lots of fun. Took all the blacksmiths from the shop, and we went to my home county, to the local church, and we reproduced some gates that were made by the Davis brothers in 1715, and they had gone missing around about World War I.
Shropshire, England.
In Shropshire, England. So took the blacksmiths over, and we, just for fun, we reproduced the gates, and they were installed at the church. And we had the BBC involved, and the local MPs, and the vicar of the church came and actually hammered on some iron as well. So it's lots of fun.
My question to you again, Steve, is, you know, a lot of the work that a blacksmith makes is very practical, very functional, but yours is art as well. So did that just, you're an artist, how did that come to be?
Well, we like to think of what we do as functional art in most cases. We make the odd sculpture and decorative wall hanging and so on, but for the most part it's functional. I think every farm in the county has a gate or railing made by us, but
Signs.
yeah, and signs.
Farm
and so on.
signs.
But yes, we work everywhere, Charlottesville to the Bahamas to
Yeah.
the Middle East. So.
What does it take? What does it take to be a blacksmith?
Well, they used to say the only qualifications were that you had to be older than 12 and able to write your name, but actually it takes a willingness to work hard and an ability to envision the end product and an artistic ability somewhat. Once you've got those in line, you need a hammer, an anvil, and a fire.
And you need a knowledge of math and geometry and engineering
Yes.
and metallurgy and multiple sciences.
And a wonderful spouse who is the liaison to your customers and does all of
Yes,
that
I
detail
wouldn't be able to
Detail.
sell. I wouldn't be able to
Detail.
sell anything if they only saw me, because look at me.
Well, I try to clean up your act and
There you go.
handle your details.
That's good. So, okay, so I know it's really hard work, there's no doubt about that, but talk about the rewards of your work.
Well, it's at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we made, whether it's just a thumb latch set or a little garden gate. A little bit of you has gone into that, and I know that that gate's going to be around 100 years longer than I am, and so you're almost making something and leaving a little bit of yourself behind in it. So it's a neat feeling.
It's pretty rewarding. Thank you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Terry.